Welcome to my HQ. When it comes to wildlife observation, we often talk about places, much less about timing. And yet, just a few minutes apart, the very same place can feel completely different. In this video, we're going to understand why the right timing changes everything in the field. Let's go. When we talk about wildlife observation or wildlife photography, the same questions always come back. What time do you go out? When does it work best? When should you be in the field? And the answers we hear most often are always the same. Early in the morning, late in the afternoon, and the rest of the time, it's useless. The problem is that in the field, it doesn't work that simply. Because the right time is not just a time on a clock. What changes with time is not just whether animals come out or go back in. What changes is the entire context around them. The light, the sounds, the movements, the pressure already present, and above all, the way the animal evaluates risk at that exact moment. The same place, seen at two different times, can feel like a completely different location. Not because the animals have disappeared, but because the framework is no longer the same. We often tend to think that time acts directly on the animal. Like a switch. It comes out, it hides, it sleeps. In reality, time acts first on the setting. The light changes, contrasts shift, shadows move, temperature evolves, and humidity too. And all of this changes the feeling of exposure. A forest understory at noon is not at all the same as at dawn. Even if the animal is in exactly the same place. Because shelters no longer play the same role. Because possible trajectories have changed. And because the margins for action are no longer the same at all. And above all, because all the living beings around behave differently. Some birds are very active. Others fall silent. Insects appear or disappear. Predators move differently. An animal never reasons alone. It reads the whole picture. There is something we almost always underestimate. It's not just your presence that matters. It's everything that happened before you arrived. An animal doesn't react to a single person. It reacts to a succession of passages, sounds, smells, and repeated disturbances. A trail that is empty at dawn is not the same trail at 10 in the morning. Even if you are alone. Because at 10 o'clock, the animal has already accumulated everything that happened before. At certain hours, the pressure is already high before you even arrive. At others, it is almost non-existent. An animal seen very early is not less wary. It is simply in a moment when it has been disturbed less. That's why sometimes you can stay for hours without seeing anything, and other times, as soon as you arrive, something starts moving almost immediately. There is also the soundscape. At certain hours, the forest is full of life. It sings. It moves. Sounds answer each other everywhere. In that context, one more noise doesn't necessarily mean much. At other times, the silence is almost complete. And then, the slightest sound stands out. A step, a fabric rubbing, a stop that's too abrupt. It's not that the animal hears better. It's that your signal stands out more. That's why two identical outings, in the same place, can produce completely opposite results depending on the time of day. Light plays exactly the same role. Not just for seeing, but for knowing whether an animal can stay, or not. At low angles, early in the morning or late in the day, shadows are long. Relief stands out. There are fallback zones. An animal can move, stop, and move again. It has options. When the light rises, everything changes. Shadows disappear, contrasts flatten, escape options shrink. Even without moving, an animal can feel exposed. For example, the same perch at dawn or at noon does not offer the same level of safety at all. Not because the animal has changed, but because the surrounding landscape no longer gives it the same margins. In the field, we often observe the same thing. Very early in the morning, an animal may remain visible for a few seconds longer. Not because it is watching you. Not because it hesitates out of curiosity. It simply stays because it still has options. It can leave in one direction, retreat in another, stop, continue. Later in the day, in the same place, the same animal will give you nothing. It will leave immediately, not because it is more fearful, but because it no longer has any margin. At that point, the landscape is already too exposed. Exit routes are limited. The decision becomes simple: leave. The right moment in the field is not when the animal is less wary. It is when it still has a choice. When you start looking at the terrain this way, you force things much less. You insist for a shorter time in the same place. You understand more quickly why nothing is happening. Not because there are no animals, but because it's simply not the right moment, or not the right place at that time of day. There are places that are very active early in the morning, and not active at all 2 hours later. Before, you stayed, you waited, and you probably wondered what was going wrong. Now, you leave earlier, not out of discouragement, just because you know there's no point in insisting. And from that point on, scouting becomes more important than equipment. You observe, you come back, you watch how a place actually works before even thinking about taking a photo. Very often, that alone is enough to understand why, until now, it wasn't working. If this way of looking at the living world resonates with you, then you probably understand why scouting often matters more than gear. Taking the time to observe a place, coming back to it, understanding how it works before even taking out the camera. That's the mindset behind this channel. Video after video, we mainly learn how to read the terrain better, to reduce mistakes, to stop insisting when it serves no purpose. Fewer unrealistic expectations, more understanding, and situations we choose to leave undisturbed. That's how perception evolves. And very often, that was exactly what had been missing until now.